The words mingled. They came out like a whisper, a mixture of despair and fear. Yoon Tae-ho opened his eyes wide and looked at Peter. The news of Min Cheol's arrival in Seoul flashed through his mind. In Yaoundé, Min Cheol, Tae-ho, watching Peter struggling at the entrance to the photo studio, remained motionless, his arms folded. Peter continued rambling. But how? How can we? Otensi! Yoon Tae-ho's mind cleared, like the sunset after a storm had receded. The moment had finally arrived. Rumors and news were tangled together, and none of them could be trusted. The words were so clear. It was as if the air itself had become transparent and clear. It was a moment when even breathing became cautious. Memories of that day suddenly flooded back. The officers ordering fratricide, the soldiers kneeling amidst the explosion, the hand of a young man clutching a flame at the corner of the square. He tried to throw a Molotov cocktail but ended up collapsing. The glass bottle shattered on the floor, and the spilled paint thinner covered him. Then flames erupted. The fire engulfed him, and he crumbled slowly in the crimson light, unable to utter a sound. The smell of that moment, the acrid mixture of gunpowder, smoke, and despair still lingered in his lungs. And then another scene unfolded. It was Otang's, standing in the forest, the protector of a troop of guerrillas. She was silent. When sunlight filtered through the leaves, a soft light fell on the gorilla's fur. She smiled in that light. She gathered fruit, caressed a wounded baby, and her eyes held the belief that the world would one day be peaceful again. Those eyes were once peaceful, a face as peaceful as sleeping under the shade of an old tree, in the gardens of a palace in Harlem. But now that peace was gone. All that remained were flames, gunfire, and shattered beliefs. Even her eyes held no light. Around her were ash, darkness, and the endless desires of humanity. The world approached again, its face swept over by tragedy. Fire and blood, gorillas and humans, the plaza and the jungle. All memories mingled, resurrecting as a single massive scar. Odhangs's death, Minchel's steps, Alphonse's cold gaze. Peter hurried and burdened. Everything weighed heavily on his shoulders in an instant. He must move. He must protect Minchel, who remained. Peter, what he witnessed was not mere death. It was a history that shook people's hearts and ignited the spark for uprising. Peter was not a mere survivor. He felt the weight he had to bear as a storyteller. He whispered carefully as he wandered through Yaoundé's narrow alleys, the capital bar, the bustling markets and streets. People were initially skeptical, but his voice held a living power. Some nodded, others wiped away tears. Peter looked at them, and in his mind he pictured her face. The harsh jungle, the torrential currents and the storm, the image of his friend kneeling and facing death. Peter felt that it wasn't simply a matter of conveying the message. It had to be engraved in people's hearts. Otang sacrificed himself for humans and gorillas. He became a martyr for the liberation of the people. As the word spread, the atmosphere in the shop changed. The smiles on the faces of those who had been filled with bargaining and laughter during the day vanished. The merchants stopped counting, and the customers slowly put down their items. When Peter finished his story, everyone avoided eye contact for a moment. Instead of words, a short sigh and a subtle silence filled the space. In the bar, glasses clattered onto tables, and in the market alley, merchants held customers' hands and listened intently. Rumors spread like the wind. The day's events had already shaken the heart of the city. The city was increasingly engulfed in the rumor. The voices of the market, the laughter and sighs in the bar, and the low murmurs in the alleyways combined to create a massive ripple. Throughout the night, as people shared their stories, her sacrifice and courage spread like a legend. Yoon Tae-ho hurried his steps toward the Mokol warehouse in the morning dusk. The neighborhood was quiet, the low sunlight still peeking through the corners of the alleys. A gentle mist of dawn hung between the alleys. the occasional crowing of roosters intermingling with the distant sounds of market preparations. Faint faces of half-asleep people peeped out from the windows. Inside the warehouse, in the darkness, Alphonse waited, arms folded. His silhouette briefly appeared in the dawn light. The smell of dust and the cold, noisy sound of an old compressor mixed together, weighing heavily on the atmosphere. Yoon Tai-ho paused, catching his breath, and took a deep breath of the cold warehouse air. A heavy tension hung between them, like a gun and a knife, older than words. The two men who had pledged to be accomplices sat facing each other, as if to confirm their accompliceship. Yoon Tai-ho spoke. "Rumors are going around that you were involved. True or not, everyone will know soon. But there's something we need to sort out before then." A car door slammed outside. Neither of them turned their heads. They heard it. They knew it could be footsteps heading their way. A brief silence. Alphonse slowly lifted his cup. Just before it touched his lips, he stopped. His eyes darkened. Who leaked that story? Yoon Tai-ho didn't answer. Instead, he took out a cigarette and lit it. He held the end of the paper in his mouth, not lighting it. It must have been Peter. Alphonse's voice was low and firm. But don't worry, he was there too. The scraping of chair legs echoed through the room. Alphonse slowly stood up and spoke. The crowd only sees the results. When a coup d'etat takes place and power shifts, even a funeral becomes a political arena. No one questions who killed her. The flow of power overshadows all judgment. His words were imbued with a stark realism. He argued that in the midst of political upheaval, an individual's death is merely recorded as an incident, and assigning blame becomes meaningless. Instead, people wondered what political significance that death held. They become more focused on who holds power and who holds it. Yoon Tai-ho's eyes narrowed coldly. "So you're saying you want to join the funeral committee? You're trying to steal legitimacy." "Steal? I'm taking it with my own power." Alphonse's voice rang low. "You're ultimately going to drag Kim Min-cheol down from that stage, aren't you?" A brief silence passed. Yoon Tai-ho nodded. "Good, but I won't do it your way. You're taking too risk." A sneer played across Alphonse's lips. Otangs chose death. He brought it upon himself and accepted it. He looked straight at Yoon Tai-ho. "You're trying to protect your conscience with superficial emotions. This was my intention, but it was also a deal you requested. Don't deny it now." Yoon Tai-ho nodded with a faint smile. "Understood. I'll see you at the funeral. This is only half done. The rest is rescuing Min-cheol." A moment of silence passed. Alphonse pushed his chair aside and stood up. He extended his hand as if the interview was over. Morning, Makol Market. An emergency call from the guards at a store deep in an alley. Afternoon, inside a Makol store deep in an alley in the market. A secret meeting of the principals. Sunni merchants raised their voices. The alliance is now stable. The smell of transaction permeated those words. Alphonse listened in silence. At the touch of a hand suggesting refuge, he gave a short laugh. "I'm going to her funeral. I'll prove my legitimacy before the people." With those words, all eyes in the room turned to him. In the silence, Alphonse's resolve became clearer. It wasn't a flight, it was a challenge. A merchant asked, "You? At the funeral? And Peter, the populist kids are accepting it?" Alphonse's lips were chapped. He snorted. "Why wouldn't you accept it? His name's on the funeral committee, and the resistance is handling the actual work." He stood there with a stern face, then spoke coldly. "We need power now, not ideals. If we don't gain recognition for our legitimacy, our rise to power is impossible. We can't overthrow a dictatorship that's been in power for over 40 years without justification at the funeral. The rise of the popular faction is like two different forces, rooted in the same root for us. It's a disruptive force that must be divided." The officer spoke as if reporting directly to Alphonse. "The city is currently on edge. Police and soldiers with guns on every street have heightened their security, and the firing squad has already entered a state of emergency. We will mobilize our troops. We will begin by protecting you. We will monitor the trend of the popular uprising and deploy our troops to positions where we can seize the momentum. His tone was calm, but his eyes wavered with anxiety. A map lay open on the desk, with a red pen marking the route. The city center, the central market, the cathedral, the Capitol Square. Every point was grouped within a single circle. Alphonse stared at the map for a moment, then muttered, neither an order nor an emotion. It's just the beginning. It was simply a cold, hard look at the consequences of the shooting that would unfold in the sanctuary. They supported each other, caught between necessity and justification, and the moment fear turned to order, they were watching for an opportunity. A sizzle at the central market. Morning. Kim Min Cheol and Peter met with merchants at Yaoundé's central market. Even though the tropical sun hadn't yet fully set, the market was already hot and humid. The merchants poked their heads out from cutting fruit, whispering to each other as they swatted away flies swarming over their fish. "Atangs is dead, huh?"